All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Cardinals series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, anything you have to say about this team. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not. You're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for my co-host right here, Frank's instant reactions after every single game during the regular season, which are titled the Mets Frankly Post Game. And for our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 132. Wow, that I don't know where my mind went there. But either way, we are coming off of a series in St. Louis that started off sharp enough. Then the rain takes over and we have a doubleheader, and the Mets ended up falling short and losing both of those games. So definitely the same issues continuing to flare up. Some things that can be pointed out throughout this entire series, but I think we all know what the glaring issue is. It continues to be. Frank, I don't think you disagree at all, because I feel like we do this every single time, especially with your post games that I have the liberty of chopping up all the time. We're talking about the same thing. It's constant, the situational hitting, which continues to be inconsistent. It continues to be anemic, and it is costing them from being a lot better than they can be as of right now, whether they're in the first place or not.
Yeah, I feel like it really stands out when we look at the differential that we have on the graphic here, like with the National League East. So it's like the Mets and Phillies, they're separated by 2.5 games, but the Mets have a plus 56 differential because it's like we saw the games that they've lost, it's been like a run or two, and even a lot of their wins have been by a run or two. But every now and then, the times that they actually do decide to hit with men on base, they blow teams out. So it's just a matter of, these guys having these kind of issues with the runners on base. It's like if they have a game where they don't get it done, it's going to be a close game. If they actually do hit, they're going to win by a ton. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way it's been. And it's like, you have 2 games just in the doubleheader, and they're both by 1 run, the losses. So it's like we've talked about it so many times where the games that they lose are very winnable because they're putting themselves in opportunities to win the games. It's just like we say, a hit here, a hit there, and you win. So it's not like you need to do this massive overhaul. You need to make like all these major changes to win more games. Like they're right there. So that's what makes it so frustrating, is that they could win it. It's right there, yet they still don't.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, we're going to have to have a little bit of a talk about some of the stuff that has been going on, because I think it's just the fact that we're seeing this consistently happen, and we've said it so many times, especially with this team, how they have been playing this first part of the year. It really has just been a little bit of a slog offensively. They have been at a 0 or 100 type of pace, and it's been kind of an issue when you have this sort of depth in this lineup that you haven't had for a while, and they continue to have the same issues. There's a few things that I would say do need to change, whether you're talking about lineup construction or whether you're talking about the 2-out approach or the 2-strike approach. It just has been very, very stale. Maybe it's possible that this team needs another voice in there that is not the voices they have right now. We've talked about that seldomly. We haven't gone into deep depth about it, but eventually that conversation is going to come if they do not pick up this consistency that we know that they are capable of.
Yeah, I just find it like, very interesting because, I mean, we did see, I'm pretty sure it was the Texas Rangers fired their hitting coach the other day. And
Yeah.
it's like, there's a team that they have talent. I mean, they have guys who are not having the greatest of seasons, but it's like, listen, an offense that includes Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Wyatt Langford, Josh Young, some other guys, like they should be able to score more runs. They just haven't. And I feel like you could make that case with this Mets team. It's like, there are guys here that are good players. Like we said, look at Lindor, look at Soto, Alonso, Vientos Nimmo. Like these are all guys that have had very good seasons in the past. These are guys that have had success with men on base in the past. They're just not having that right now. And for the case of Soto, he definitely got unlucky yesterday, no question about it. But a lot of the other times, it's like, it's just more so the philosophy is that I don't know who's the one telling them to, when it's two strikes, so often be taking, especially with men on base. It's like, you have to, especially less than 2 outs as well, like swing at anything close, get the sacrifice fly, move the runner over, move him in, like especially when you're struggling as well. It's like there are these little things that you should be adjusting to. And I said especially to game one because the umpire was brutal, but it's like if you know that, okay, on this particular game, the low strike is going to be called, then you need to be ready for that and be a little more aggressive on the low pitches because there's a higher probability that they're going to be called strikes. So when it's 2 strikes, you better swing at that low pitch that's like knee high or borderline because you don't want it to go against you. And I just feel like to get struck out in the same part of the strike zone with men on base 3 separate times in the game between Soto and Alonso in particular, that was just really frustrating because it's like this is where you want to see adjustments made, and that's where I'm not seeing it. So some of it is on the players, but I feel like you would want the hitting coach to be like, listen, guys, we got to change our approach for today. Like, I just feel like ideally you'd want to have the same approach, but I feel like there are certain circumstances, whether it's an umpire, a pitcher, or whatever is going on, that you may have to make slight tinkering to make sure that you get the most out of it that particular day. And I feel like they don't do that. I feel like we just see like the same issues over and over. And listen, the amount of balls on the ground, that's not very productive when you're trying to score runs, not being as aggressive on the bases, not stealing at the right times. Like you want to steal at the beginning of game 2, but you don't want to steal end of game 1. Like it was like these certain things where like you could do something and they just don't do it and just stick with the same things over and over and over. And that's where I get very frustrated.
Well, I mean, I think another thing that goes in with this is more of this, and I don't like to say it as a crutch because I do like to look at this certain data and I do like to, go into under the hood, shall we say, of what, what is expected and what is projected to go well. But I think there also is a lot blended into it of just bad overall philosophy at the plate. Like you said, yes, in that final game, we had we saw Juan Soto have a few some shit luck when he put the ball in play. There's been a few robberies. The Mets were scorching balls throughout that entire series. Again, that is great, but it's also getting foreshadowed by just not good timely hitting. When you're put it in these situations, the context does matter. They have had a lot of situations with runners on base or whether they have runners in scoring position where there just is not an efficient outlook here. They constantly hit the ball on the ground. There is not a philosophy as to if you're down a run or down 2 runs, a runner at third base, hit a fly ball with less than 2 outs, anything to the outfield, and just you could tie the game here. There just isn't that simple thinking. I feel like they're just going up there, winging it, doing whatever they can. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it's not happening consistently, you're going to get performances like this where you lose by 1 run, you get bottled up in these situations. And, we shouldn't have to be in this conversation with all of this offensive talent of guys we know are capable of doing this. We know that they are capable of it, and most of it is mental to me. I really do believe that most of this is a mental issue with the runners in scoring position because we just constantly see poor decisions being made. And now we And now everybody has to, resort to being fans and overcompensating to the fact they're like, well, we're hitting the ball hard. And when we have this good batting average in the last 4 days with runners in scoring position. So I just
well, their average run score is one of the worst. So
it is one of the worst. But recently, it's like okay, well, this is efficient. This was efficient enough.
That's the thing too, Carson. So there are times where you could actually get a hit with a runner in scoring position, yet still not score because you don't have the foot speed. Because that's another thing we've seen too. Like you could have second and first, and Vientos is throwing out second, and the guy gets a hit, and Vientos just moves up to third. So you still didn't score. So
you also can score without a hit in runners in scoring position too.
That's
obviously,
there's a lot of different ways to have a efficient offense, and they're not doing it. And I think another thing that stood out too was there was a part. I think it was actually the play where Soto hit the pop up that Arenado caught in the crowd and like that craziness. But before that, the count was 3-1. And they said, you're down a run. And Gary said it. He goes, this could be a really good pitch for Soto to hit with Pete right behind him. They don't want to put Soto on, then face Pete as the go-ahead run. Soto gets a pitch down and in, perfect in a lefty pull wheelhouse, takes it. So now he's 3-2, and then the pitch was up and out of the zone. That's when he pops up and that Arenado makes the amazing play on. So it's just like, there's those other opportunities where it's like, in this particular moment, you're probably going to get a good pitch to hit, and you don't hit it, or you don't swing at it. But then, like, the next one that's up, that's the one you swing at. So it's like a lot of the decision-making has just not been good. And so that's the thing, too. And, when the guy is getting paid $800 million, is known as a great hitter, like, you would think they'd make the correct decisions, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah, we constantly just see, 3-1 continues to be a hitter's count. Always will be. And for some reason, we will see them stare at pitches and trying to look for a walk. And that would be okay to me if they were okay doing that, because again, a hitter's count, pitchers don't throw as many strikes as they used to. But here's the thing. You're going to steal a base when you take your walk? No. So what is the point? You see somebody like Acuna do that, he's going to most likely attempt to steal. Somebody like Tyrone Taylor, maybe. But guys like Pete Alonso, when you get something down the middle at 3-1, which he has been taking advantage of, that's a bad example. Guys like Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Vientos, it just constantly seems to be horrible swing decisions, whether it's deciding not to swing or deciding to swing. And I feel like there is also a lack of accountability here with a lot of these types of situations. And for some reason, it just continues to be an issue no matter who is on the team. You can put in Juan Soto, one of the best hitters of this generation. You can put in a red-hot Pete Alonso. Does not matter. You can have Lindor, one of the best leadoff hitters in the game right now, who has been phenomenal since moving into that leadoff spot. You can have Brandon Nimmo, who we'll get into, who has given a good career offensively. You can have all of these guys in this lineup, but still the philosophy is just damaged and flawed for some reason. And we all know what the constant is. And again, I don't want to get into that discussion yet. We will eventually, if it continues like this. I promise you guys, after May, if this continues to go, then we will have this discussion. I see some people talking about it in the chat right now. So either way, they're going to have to figure it out in that way, because we know that if they don't, heads are going to start to roll in playing time, or heads are going to start to roll in the coaching staff. Like, they're going to have to make these changes, or this offense is not going to be as fluid as people thought it was going to be. And that's just it.
Yeah, and I think, a perfect example to what you're saying is they drew 8 walks in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday.
Yes.
But in addition, had 10 hits. So to have 18 base runners for the total of the game, there are probably some hit by pitches in there as well. So it's like maybe almost 20 guys got on base. To end up with 5 runs, like, that should almost be impossible, but it happens. And it's like, and what frustrates me is that, like, there hasn't been any signs of improvement. If anything, I feel like it's maybe getting worse in a certain sense, because, like, that was a lot of base runners that they had in the span of these 2 games yesterday against the Cardinals.
Yeah. And
they stranded all of them. Majority of them. Most of them were stranded. So it's just, like, where's, like, there's no signs that tell me, oh, they're breaking out of it. Oh, they're starting to take a better approach. Like, we're still seeing the same thing. Like 3-1, don't swing. 3-2, don't swing. But then, a guy keeps throwing the dirt. You're bouncing it, swing the batter's box. Viento swing at that. Ball on the ground constantly. Not being more aggressive on the bases. Like, all these little things that we're constantly seeing. So, we can continue to talk about the offense. But then on the flip side, as far as personnel and decision making with who's playing the field and who's not playing the field and how their bodies react to that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other separate issue, because now, since your hitters cannot handle playing the field, those hitters are now not in the lineup anymore and now on the injured list. And now other guys who are not as good hitters have to get called up because of that. And it's like, that's the kind of thing that it's like a domino effect where, because your guys are not conditioned to handle playing in the field, now they're not available to hit. And some guys, on the other hand, could only play 5 innings and then have to come out of the game because they can't play more than 5 innings in the field. So now their bat is out of the lineup, and now you're playing shorthanded. Double shorthanded because the other guy got hurt from being in the field. So it's like all these little things all contribute to not having a good offense. And that's the kind of stuff that is just so aggravating.
Yeah, there's plenty of components to this where you can break this down as to why it just seems so difficult for these teams for the Mets to just cash in runners as soon as they get on base, because they get on a base quite a lot. They do. They give you plenty of opportunities. You can't have you can't squander so many opportunities without getting those opportunities. And I think it's just, at this point, you just can't you can't continue doing things like this, because then you're going to continue to have these 1-run losses. Because like we've said, as good as the pitching has been so far this season, it's not going to hold up every single time. There's going to be blowups. There's going to be instances where they're not giving you 6 innings of 2-run ball. So they're going to have to clean it up in that way. Now, guys, I am not using a headset for this because my battery, for some reason, does not want to charge on this wireless headset that I have. So I am not using one, and I'm using my speaker. So for those of you if you guys hear an echo at all, let me know. It's probably a little bit small of an echo because I do have a little bit of condenser on here. So guys, let me know if you hear any echo at all in the chat. If not, we should be good. But other than that, I do want to get into what happened in this series and, what went wrong, the events of everything, and give a full recap. Now, I know that this continues to be something that I waste a lot of voice on, so I'm just going to take a drink of water first.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, it was very eventful. I mean, you had a doubleheader, you had the rain out Saturday, you had you thought you felt good too. That's the thing too, is that like the offense was great Friday, like, oh, here we go, 9-3, we're good. Then the rain happened Saturday, and then you're like, okay, well, let's see what happens Sunday, and then that happened, and then you know what? Before we get into that too, how about with the pitching decisions in Game 1? Like, you have a fully rested bullpen, yet you are really trying to push Blade Tidwell. That didn't make any sense. Like, you had the most rested bullpen you will have all season long, considering the circumstances that Major League Baseball allows you to have a 27th man for a doubleheader, and the guy that you're starting, you're going to send down, so you're going to have an extra arm for the bullpen. You're going to have 2 extra arms, plus the off day the day before. What more do you want that you should not be pushing a guy in your Major League debut? So it's like, you know what, the offense not cashing a lot of runners, that's the main culprit. But the way the manager is going about handling his rookie starting pitcher is also not very helpful for winning baseball games.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into Tidwell, obviously, in his debut and what went wrong for him. I think that some of the managerial decisions, you have a little bit more of your backs against the wall with who you can use and who you can trust, because you're running out of options at this point. But I think that at some point we're going to have to find some kind of median here with the usage. And, we've talked about the usage of Edwin Diaz and things in the bullpen and things like that. But I think eventually it will be addressed somehow. I don't know how it will be. But as for what happened the last 3 days, let me As Carlos is saying, yes, I did take a sip out of a gasoline container. Yeah, this is a massive Stanley right here of water, because I do a lot of talking on that on the show. If you guys can't tell already. Either way, let's get into the full rundown of this series of all 3 games in St. Louis. Now, game 1, Clay Holmes would make the start in the season opener. He'd start off a bit rough. Some defensive miscues, having trouble holding base runners. He would take a line drive off of his foot, but he would turn in a solid line. 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts on 92 pitches. The Mets would head into the second down 1-0, and after a walk to Brandon Nimmo and a bloop single by Jesse Winker and a base hit by Mark Vientos, Jeff McNeil would tie the game with an RBI force out. The Mets would take a 2-1 lead after, with Francisco Alvarez grounding into a force out of his own. The Mets would find themselves down 3-2 in the 5th, but after a 1-out double by Juan Soto would set up Pete Alonso smashing his 8th home run of the year to give the Mets a 4-3 lead, and the offense would add on from there and never give it back. After a defensive miscue by first baseman Wilson Contreras, the Mets would take a 5-3 lead on a force-out RBI for Mark Vientos. Francisco Alvarez would add on another with an RBI single to make it 6-3. Brandon Nimmo would lead off the 7th with a solo home run on the first pitch, his 7th of the year, to make it a 7-3 ball game. Francisco Alvarez would follow it later with his 3rd RBI of the night, giving the Mets an 8-3 lead. Luis Angel Acuna would make it 9-3 on a sacrifice fly in the 9th. Jose Butto would toss a scoreless 7th, struggle a bit in the 8th, but still put up a scoreless frame. Ryan Stanek would get the 9th and retire the side on 6 pitches to finish the game. The Mets would tally 17 hits altogether, with multi-hit games from Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Winker, and Alvarez to take the series opener 9-3. The second game would be postponed to the next day, creating a doubleheader on Sunday. Mets pitching prospect Blade Tidwell would make his MLB debut. More on that later. It definitely did not go as planned. He struggled to put away batters all day and was pulled from the game with 2 out in the 4th, as Genesis Cabrera would finish the inning after a 2-out double, but after a 2-out double in the 1st by Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo would open up the scoring with a double of his own to make it 1-0 Mets. With the game tied at 1 in the 3rd, the Mets would get a leadoff single by Juan Soto and Pete Alonso's 2nd double of the day. Jesse Winker would give the Mets the lead again with a sacrifice fly, but Blade Tidwell would exit in the 4th. The Mets would find themselves down 6-2, but would start to fight back in the 6th. After a leadoff walk to Jeff McNeil and a single by Luis Angel Acuna, Francisco Lindor would cut into the Cardinals' lead with an RBI force out to make it 6-3. Later on in the 8th, former Met Phil Maton would walk Luis Torrens to lead off the inning and allow a 1-out single to Luis Angel Acuna. Tyrone Taylor would pinch hit and single to load the bases. And Francisco Lindor would drive in 2 more to make it a 1-run game. In relief, Genesis Cabrera would pitch a scoreless 5th and get 2 outs in the 6th. Huskar Brazaman would come on to finish the inning, working around a lead-off hit by pitch. Austin Warren would make his Mets debut in the 7th and toss a scoreless inning with a strikeout. Reed Garrett would toss a scoreless 8th with a strikeout. The Mets would threaten against the Cardinals closer, Ryan Helsley. Mark Vientos would lead off with a single and get pinch run for by Starling Marte. Marte would advance to 2nd on a wild pitch with 1 out. Jeff McNeil would advance him to 3rd on a fly out to right field, but Luis Angel Acuna would pop out to end it as the Mets rally would fall short in Game 1 of the doubleheader and in Game 2 of the series, 6-5. Game 3, Tyler McGill would start the second game of the doubleheader and labor a bit through 5 innings, allowing 2 runs in the 1st inning on a home run by Alec Burleson, and he would struggle to miss bats in the 5th before being removed from the game. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts on 90 pitches. After McGill's rough first inning, the Mets offense would go to work in the third. Pete Alonso would get them on the board with an RBI single, and Starling Marte would plate 2 more to give the Mets a 3-2 lead. Francisco Alvarez would add on another one with a RBI single to make it a 4-2 game. Relieving McGill after the Cardinals tied the game at 4, Max Krenick would give away the lead in the 6th on an RBI double by Victor Scott. And after Andre Palante was pulled from the game, Michael McGreevy would dominate the Mets for the rest of the game, allowing just 2 base runners through 5 2/3 innings scoreless to finish the game and take both games of the doubleheader from the Mets 5-4. The Mets are now 22-13. They have lost 6 of their last 10 after dropping their 3rd consecutive series, currently holding a 2.5 game lead on the Phillies for first place in the National League East. So a lot went on in this series. Of course, a doubleheader and a very frustrating doubleheader nonetheless. Again, a lot to dislike. There's some constants here, like we've said, continuing the same story of the situational hitting, continuing to fall short, continuing not to live up to the potential we know it is capable of living up to. It just has been a mess that falls short, and when you just don't come through situationally like this, you're going to lose a lot of 1-run games and 2-run games, and only the pitching can only carry you so far. The pitchers can't hit for you. So again,
they used to be able to, but not anymore.
They used to be able to hit back when Jacob deGrom could do that.
How the DH position has gone this year. I mean, if we still had the same pitching rotation we did, it'd be a conversation. I mean, it really would, because you're not getting much from the DH position, and we've talked, and that's been a constant. We've talked about. We had concerns in the offseason, and it's now that Jesse Winker is hurt, that's going to be even worse. So, I mean, listen, the pitchers maybe getting some swings. You can't say it's the worst thing. I know they would get hurt, so I'm not being serious. I'm joking. But still, like, it has been very frustrating that we've talked about designated hitter, and they have struggled with the hitting aspect of that title.
No, it's a joke. The entirety of that position for the Mets has been a joke since they implemented it. It's just, I can't.
This is now 5 years?
This is now 5 years, yes.
Of the DH.
And how it's been implemented and how it's been ignored completely by this team. Obviously, they addressed it fairly well with JD Martinez, but he even tampered off. I mean, it just was not. They're not getting the production that you should be getting.
Last year, I was ready for him to sit next to me in the retirement home. I was done with the chasing on the outside corner because. And it was like I talked about last episode, but the fit with everybody else. JD Martinez does not fit in the same lineup as Mark Vientos and Pete Alonso, last year's Pete Alonso, and Starling Marte, because they all had that same weakness from the right side of the kind of hitters that they are. And his lack of speed was just as bad, if not worse, than the guys they already have. So it's like, we talked about it. It's like they have a bunch of guys who belong in either leadoff or batting number 9th, and they have a bunch of guys who belong at like DH or first base. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. And Doug makes a great point. Like, Shortbrow was told it was too much. Like, listen, paying big money to a guy that, like, listen, this is going to be a staple of our offense, even if it's at the DH position, and we're going to pay him a lot of money. It's technically not the worst investment you can make. It's worse to spend $20 million for a guy to play center field who doesn't play center field. That's worse. At least pay for the position that the guy is going to play. So, I mean, like I said, we've said, there's worse ways to spend your money.
Well, I mean, it's a complete joke. I really have. I've talked about this of how the Mets have treated this DH position when I'm looking at other teams with Shohei Ohtani at DH and Yordan at DH and all these other teams that have feared hitters who can shit wreck at any point and give you, that actual competitive offense.
I mean, as much as I hate the guy, like, he puts up insane numbers every year from the DH position. So, like, that's money well spent for the Braves.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the thing. You can't compete with that DH spot. And of course, we're just going position by position. But I just, from this series specifically, yes, I know the pitching has not been fantastic in these last few series. It has not been the amazing dominance that it was in April. but it completely gets blindsided here. I don't care. I really don't care if they've been
the
bad.
Injuries too. I mean,
yeah,
we've talked about last episode, but they've continued to have injuries. They have guys going down left and right constantly. They have guys getting overworked and all these other things. For the offense, until the Winker thing happened yesterday, there wasn't much of an excuse.
No.
I mean, for the most part, like a lot of these guys had been healthy, and some people think that maybe the Mets were better off with the guys they had when McNeil and Alvarez were hurt, because Acuna was out playing McNeil, and with the men on base, Torrens in some instances was better than Alvarez. So that wasn't even like with the pitching where it's like, no, like we don't have Minter, we don't have Manaea, we don't have Montas. Now Nunez is back. Hopefully it stays back. We'll see. Like, there was legit, like, reasons to be like, Edwin Diaz had the cramp thing happen. Like, the pitching it made more sense that, okay, this is why they're not doing as well. Like, they've had guys get hurt and a lot of things moving and changing. But this other stuff is pretty frustrating. And the other thing to go along with that, if your offense gets a bunch of guys on base, if they cash them in, it allows a manager to use his pitchers differently and the pitchers to pitch differently. They're not in as many high leverage situations. They're not being pushed as much. So it's like you could change everything if you just hit the way you're supposed to hit. There should not be an excuse for the lack of consistent scoring runs that this team has failed to do.
Yeah, it's more of just the quality of how they approach this thing. Like, this is the thing. I constantly see the same thing being shoveled into our face, the same types of stuff. Maybe it pops off once every 6 games, and it's a chore to watch the offense, and it shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't. I think right now, this is a really good point from Rosie, saying that the pitching has masked how poorly the offense was performing, and I think that right now the offense is
2-0. Like, come on, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, they had too many wins like that where they were shutout wins. They were really close wins. It was like, well, yeah, the offense had to do like basically the bare minimum in order to win a game. Like, the pitching had to be dang near perfect to win some of these games that they won earlier so far.
Yeah, I really am just getting really tired of this team just giving me the bare minimum when I know that they're capable of a lot more. I just there's certain situations you got to point out where, sometimes you sound like a crazy person in some of these ways. I think if you were to talk about the pitching right now and say, okay, maybe they're coming back to earth. Maybe they're coming back to one of those situations where, maybe they just aren't as great as they were. Well, yeah, obviously, because they were giving you unsustainable numbers in April. You had a 4-run performance from Tyler McGill. We've seen that before. You didn't have the best performance from Clay Holmes, but he stayed in there. You had, Blake Tidwell have a rough debut, which we will get into. Can we really blame the pitching at all? Is it possible to blame the pitching at all when you have this offense falling short by 1 run? When they've had so many opportunities? When they leave an entire village on base? It's not possible. Like, this is the thing. It's like, well, Carlos Mendoza screwed this up. This is the reason why we lost. And the umpire's screwing it. No. Enough with the victim mentality. No more. This is an offense we know can perform. Because if this continues like this, you're not going to be able to say first place for that long. We say this every single time. It's just, I can't fathom how bad this team has been situationally. And it's not even just offensively. Sometimes defensively too. Sometimes it's just there's a lot of mental issues that are just being put on display when we know that these guys are better. And I have said this many, many times. It all really has to be the theme of get your head out of your ass. Like, we know they're capable of doing these things. It has nothing to do with the numbers they're providing, has nothing to do with, any advanced numbers or anything. It is all mental with this team. It is seriously all mental. And it's not, and that's coming from a strong opinion from me, because we all know how big I'm the numbers guy, how deep I like to look under that. It's all mental with this team. That's it. Nimmo is never clutch. That is not true at all. That is not true. Only Pete is clutch, and Lindor. Listen,
I'm seeing a very interesting trend as I go through a little bit of a history lesson. So we talked about the Mets being offense being 0-100. I'm looking at where they finished as far as runners in scoring position, batting average compared to the rest of the league. So we'll start off in 2021. They finished 25th. Okay. So then 2022 they finished 4th. Then in 2023 they were 25th. Then in 2024 they were number 9, and now this year they're currently at number 24. So they're either 25, 24, or top 10. And it's alternating years. So far, that trend is now since 2021.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, yes, we know that. We'll get into Nimmo a little bit, guys.
So we can't say that, the runners in scoring position struggles are a new thing. This has been happening now on and off year after year.
Yeah, no, it's bare minimum type of production. It doesn't matter who you put in this lineup, ever. It does not matter. You will continue to see this bare minimum production, constant conservative type of play, not being able to take an extra base with certain speed or whatever. I mean, at this point, we're really just coming to, how do we break this thing down as to where we can find a way to have this be the consistent offense we know. But for some reason, it just has not been that. So I think if you have, to point it out particularly, it's everyone. It's everyone. Nimmo has not been great with runners in scoring position. We know he hasn't this year. He has a history of being great with runners in scoring position. So again, that's a recency bias take. And I'm not saying that just to defend my guy Nimmo here. It's just not true. Soto has not been good with runners in scoring position. Vientos has not been good with runners in scoring position. The only guy that has been good has been Alonso. Then that second guy is now riding the bench because you just brought up your young catcher, who's back now. And actually, you know what? Francisco Alvarez has been okay situationally so far this year. But that's a very small sample size. The point is that you're constantly seeing either the same culprits or you're just not seeing enough from the
even
non-culprits.
Lindor hasn't been great with men on base too. Like you said, it's basically just
he started off rough. He's been better, but not where he's supposed to be. It's just and I again, you can put up all these flashy numbers all you want, but situationally with some of these guys, it's so mental. It's all mental.
And this is where I don't necessarily agree, because I feel like with Nimmo, I've seen him strand a ton of runners, whether he's batting 4th, 5th, or 6th. So I feel like no matter how you split it up, it's always going to find the same guys, because the other same guys are always going to be on base in a certain sense. I just feel like no matter what, Nimmo's still ending up with a ton of RBI opportunities no matter where they put him in the lineup.
Yeah, and again, I do trust Nimmo to be in those opportunities. If you're just going to say, from what he's been doing these last, calendar year from everybody that he says, because he's always been a good high leverage hitter. Recently, no. And it's easy to have that recency bias. We know that Pete Alonso was not good with it last year, and it was a massive issue. I know that this team is capable of it because they've shown it before. And I just can't say that, I'm comfortable with some of the decisions that are being made with this lineup. But also, I can't say that I am comfortable with, I guess, I'm not comfortable with taking a few guys out or lowering some of the playing time here. So, at some point, I think they're going to have to find some kind of formula that does either work, or they're going to have to make a little bit more of a deeper change here.
You're right.
And yeah,
I mean, it's tough. It's
yeah.
just
Well, I mean, he was a good high leverage hitter last year, Nimmo. Nimmo was a good high leverage hitter last year. So are we saying that he aged 10 years overnight? Like,
no, I
come
think
on,
it's more so
people.
what Carlos is saying with the being aggressive. I feel like a lot of times when Nimmo was really good on base, it was because, with runners on, the pitchers were kind of nibbling and getting nervous, and Nimmo would just take off like really tough pitches. And it's like he would really force them to come in the zone, and that's when he did his damage. It was more so like just giving these really tough at-bats that would then cause the success that he had. But now when he's just swinging first pitch and grounding it to the right side and kind of bailing out the pitchers, that's where I feel like the issues are happening. Because when he was hitting high in the order and he would just lay off tough pitches, 5 tough pitches off, it just made for much more productive at-bats and more successful at-bats.
Yeah. Truro is saying this. Nimmo was top of the league in WPA last year. Since he's come into the league, he is top 20 in all of baseball in WPA, which is win probability added, which is a play-by-play metric of clutch moments. So again, that feeds into when a guy came through and when he doesn't, where it's play-by-play with each AB, and then also him defensively too, and pretty much just overall as a player of what they provide to win probability. So again, this is not something that was very different, or, it's not something that is just completely like out of the ordinary, or something that's like, oh, well, this is completely not, this is what Nimmo's always been. No, he's been very good in these situations. One of our best situational hitters for a long time. This year, he hasn't been able to do it. So again, we will get into Nimmo in a little bit. But I do want to get into another rough spot from this series, and of course that being Blade Tidwell's debut. Now, Blade Tidwell, we know, was our second round pick in 2022. 2022. And out of Tennessee, we know that he had some shoulder issues, which is the main reason as to why he dropped. And he made his debut in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, and it did not go as planned. And it was a rough outing for him. And his first taste in the majors was that he was definitely greeted very rudely. So I want to talk about Blade Tidwell, what we saw. Now, we saw the stuff. Stuff was on display. Hitting 99 with the fastball, sitting 95 to 96. He was hitting over 20 inches of induced vertical break, which is an elite fastball shape. On display, you're seeing from how it is graded, 5 pitches were on display that were all plus graded pitches. The problem is, Stuff Plus, all these metrics, or just that metric specifically, is not measured with a strike zone. And that was the main reason as to why Blade Tidwell struggled a lot. He was struggling with his command the entirety of the game, and he was not able to get as many chases. 17.9% whiff rate, or chase rate, 44 of the pitches were outside of the strike zone, which is more of expected with a lot of pitchers these days. But the fastball sinker combination of just strictly velocity, where we know he can throw a lot harder. We know that they add in a lot of sinkers with a lot of these guys as they develop through the higher levels of the minor league system. They registered a 556 xwOBA, which is also known quality of contact, against his fastball and sinker combined, which was a decent amount of pitches that he did throw. He's 23 years old, second round pick, 2022. He was optioned down to AAA Syracuse following that Sunday afternoon game, and then the overall results, they just were not great. He faced 23 batters. He was able to get only 11 outs, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 7 swings and misses. He threw 82 pitches. It was not a great outing for Blade Tidwell. I don't want to grill the guy too much because this is his first major league start. I'm not going to go after him as a complete bust right now. There's things that young pitchers have to learn. Pitching is a lot harder than it was 10 years ago as compared to when these young guys would come up and just adjust immediately. We saw a lot of bad. We saw shades of what he can do. But I think one thing that you can take away from this, even though it counts against the Mets' win-loss record, their precious win-loss record of being in first place, Frank, I think we can all agree that this will be taken away as a learning experience for Blade Tidwell and go back to the drawing board, and we'll see how this progresses into the future. Rough outing for him, rude awakening here, but I'm not ready to cancel him out completely yet. We know what he can show, but it just was not on display. Struggling to miss bats, struggling to get chases, not expanding the zone the way that he was in the minor leagues. And it's an adjustment for him. So are you ready to call him a bust? Do you think that this is it? Is that the end of his career? And we got to move on to someone else and trade him away? Or are you just settling in here and letting the guy adjust to the major leagues and get a little bit more innings under his belt at this level?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was kind of surprised that he made the start anyway, to be honest with you. Like, because we had seen the Mets have other opportunities even as early as this past week where they needed a spot starter. And, Tidwell was not the guy that they went to when they first needed one. So I think the fact that they went to him now, I found the timing was pretty interesting. But, as far as what's been happening in AAA for him, it's kind of been some of the same stuff as last year where, there's been inconsistencies. Like, he has the starts, like, it kind of coincides, but it's like, if he walks batters, he's going to give up runs. And the starts where he doesn't walk batters are the starts that, generally speaking, he does pretty good, except for his very last start before getting called up for this one. He had no walks and still gave up 4 runs. So it's like, I don't know how you see him have that start where he doesn't do all that great, and you're like, oh, he's ready for the big leagues, let's call him up. Like, I just don't quite see how that correlates. So I was surprised he was here in the first place.
I think it was the strikeout numbers. I think that was what
the strikeout numbers have been better,
yeah,
and the walks are down overall.
Yeah.
So, like, they could have been encouraged by that. And to your point, like you showed, like, the stuff is still, generally speaking, good stuff. Like, as far as like the movements and the velocities and everything that's happening there, spin rates, all that looks good. But as we know, there's more to pitching than just throwing. Like, there's a thing called, like, the art of pitching. Like, your sequencing, where you're locating, like, all this other stuff is just as, if not more important than having good stuff, because you could have good stuff and no command of it. But on the same token, you have soft tossers who could still be very effective pitchers and could go a very long way, all the way into the Hall of Fame. There are cases where it does happen. So, there's a lot that goes into it. And, I'm not going to overreact to a rookie making his major league debut and he doesn't do great. Now, when Michael McGreevy in the second game for the Cardinals makes his season debut and totally carves up the Mets, not the best look. And I will say that, generally speaking, if I was going to have a doubleheader and a rookie starter was going to make his first start, man, would I put him in the second game when all the bats are tired, not in game 1 when everyone's fully rested. Why would I give the rookie in his major league debut the tougher game? That's just me. I would have given him game 2. Cardinals would have not been as ready to go as they were and making all these things happen. And I'll tell you what, there was also some good hitting here by the Cardinals, particularly Wilson Contreras, who was throwing the bat at the ball and just letting go with one hand and dumping little bloops into right field. Like, there are occasions where you tip your hat to the hitter. Like, that's an old saying when it comes to being a pitcher. Like, some guys put on good swings. There are things like that happen.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and even listen, and he had Jim Wolf. And
that's just your Jeff McNeil fan club shit speaking out. That's disgusting. Come on now.
No, and listen, and he had Jeff Wolf as his umpires, who's going to call everything a strike essentially. So, he had a pretty wide strike zone umpire, and he still wasn't able to have the greatest success. So that definitely was frustrating. But I felt like as the start was going on, you could see him kind of wearing down a little bit. You're seeing more guys get on base. And like I said, I felt like in that particular situation, having the extra man because of the doubleheader, knowing you're going to send Blade down, so you're going to have another arm in the bullpen anyway, and having the day off the day before, I just felt like the way you could have approached it was as soon as you start to see a rookie in his very first start get into some trouble, and he's already been in there a few innings, you could pull the plug pretty early and be like, okay, you know what? We saw what we got what we could out of him. We're going to move to the pen and go from there. But they just let him keep going and keep going and keep going. I just don't think that it should have got to the point where he gave up 6 runners and 9 hits and 3 walks. It's like, how many guys on base do you need to see before you're like, you know what, we should get him out of this game? Like, I don't, like, it just got so much to the point, especially when you didn't score a ton of runs. It's not like you had 12 runs on the board, so if he's just letting guys to constantly score, you're like, it's okay, we're still up by a bunch, like the way they were with Jose Urena, where they're like, you know what, he can keep going out there even though he sucks, like, just leave it, we're up by a bunch, we'll still win. But in this situation, and you're seeing the game get out of hand and the Cardinals take the lead and it's going on, it's like, maybe we should have someone warmed up. Maybe we should take him out now. And it's like after so much damage was done, it's like, okay, now we'll take him out. It was like, I just feel like it could have been avoided so much earlier. And then right on cue, what does the bullpen do? Not give up a single run. Like, you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up because Genesis Cabrera comes in and gives us way more than we thought we would have got out of him. But it's like we wouldn't know because we went to him so late. So that's the thing that really bothered me too, was that it was like as soon as they took him out, bullpen was lights out.
I understand the frustration with that. Again, it's all really just about, losing the game by inches, which seems to be the theme for a lot of these games they have had this past week.
1-run losses.
Yeah, they've had a lot of 1-run losses. They've had a lot of situations where you're like, oh, well, they probably should have done this. They probably should have done that. I really just think it still just comes down to the performance aspect of the offense. And to be honest, again, this offense in that game going 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position, losing by 1 run, I'm not going to throw the kid under the bus because of all the base runners he was allowing. And also, I'm a little bit in the minority here. And I kept quiet, so I wasn't going to get completely roasted on Twitter for this. I was okay with them letting him go a little bit farther because I wanted to see how he reacted to it and see how he maneuvered around it from the stretch. Because we did see a little bit of a difference between, we know he has that old-fashioned over-the-head thing like Tom Seaver does,
when
right?
The bases were loaded.
Yeah.
So he was
pitching from the full windup.
He's more comfortable from the windup. So we already know that, but. Also, though, there's this thing called spring training, and there's this thing called the minor leagues. So it's like, if you want to do experiments and see how he handles adversity, do it in the minor leagues. Don't do it in the major leagues.
Well, you also have to see it in a major league game. So, we all know spring training ain't a major league game. We already know the whole case with the guy who's being called up today. So,
but Mendoza had that same mentality with Starling Marte yesterday. The way he handled Starling Marte was like a spring training game. Oh, we know we can only get 5 innings out of him.
Oh, well, that's just Starling Marte being an embarrassment to his contract. That's just different. That's a different situation. Again, that's just Starling Marte having a disgusting contract that Billy Epler gave to him and we're stuck with. So, again, that's a different thing. As to, I really do like to see some of these young pitchers face the adversity and see how they get out of it. Not to mention, I can't get mad at he gave him too much extra of a batter, 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position. That's your issue. That's your issue. Again, I can't.
Don't make a right, though. I mean, the offense,
I know two wrongs don't make a right.
Could be bad, but and the managing could be bad. I mean, both things could happen.
Both can be true, absolutely. But when you're talking about a culprit all season, has it been the pitching? Absolutely not. It's been the runners in scoring position.
I mean, the offense has been the main issue. We agree on that. But I'm saying that, like, you could. I feel like there's still another way to manage this game and still win it, because I just don't like. I don't like giving games away. I'm not a believer.
I don't like doing that either. We all know I don't like the throwaway lineups where it's
especially
a punt game.
Listen.
I don't like different lineups every day. It's
May. If I'm ahead by like 15 games of division, or I'm behind by 15 games of division late in the season, do all the experiments you want. But when it's early in the season and it's still tight, I'm not doing experiments.
Sure. That's sure that's fine, but again, this is the major league debut of him, and I think we needed to see how he did do well with that, and I think that there was a potential as to where maybe he does get out of the inning because he was had a lot of soft hits against him. It just wasn't going his way whatsoever. He wasn't getting chases. Slider was all over the place. Fastball looked sharp for a little bit, and then it's kind of tampered off. I said this before his debut on Twitter. I said the talent and stuff is there. He knows how to expand the zone well because he does have a really good slider and good breaking pitches. Maintaining it throughout deeper innings with that stuff is the key for him because he continues to have that issue where in the middle innings,
a lot of people
he starts to tamper off. What just happened yesterday?
But also,
I mean, there you go.
But here's two other things. A lot of people in the comments are saying sounds a lot like a reliever. But here's the other thing. The Cardinals with McGreevy, they didn't use him as a starter. They used him in the middle of the game. So it's like maybe that's a case where you could have had an opener and then gone to Blade if you knew that realistically you maybe get like 3 to 4 strong innings out of him. Maybe 3 innings because he didn't even get through 4. But maybe it's like you're not going to get too much out of him. It's like that's what I'm saying. That like if you know that if he's constantly having that issue in the minors, you don't need to get to the major leagues to then figure that out because you already knew that in the minors. That's why I'm saying
I understand that, but I also don't think they expected him to go. I also don't think they expected to go 82 pitches and not even get through 4 innings. Like I feel like
you wouldn't expect that. No, definitely not.
No, I don't think they expected it to be as bad as it was. And listen, I think that he is a young player. He's 23 years old. I'm not putting the entire franchise in his hands. The same goes for Brandon Sproat, who is a highly regarded prospect. Then Blade Tidwell. Same goes for Nolan McLean. Jonah Tong when he gets up here. There's tons of guys in this minor league system that I'm not putting the fate of the universe on the line with Max Kellerman in their hands. And, I would like them to learn and develop in that way. The only way that he's going to learn to get out of it is to pitch through it. Now, at one point there was they did leave him in too long. Again,
because that's the thing too. You also talked about the mental aspect of it, and I think it should be more so like if he pitched good, he gave us a few good innings, pull it. Don't let him continue to feel worse about himself and then worse and worse and worse. Because I just I felt like it was just too long. Where it's like, okay, we tried, and
again, I'm not trying to be a ruthless. I'm not trying to be a ruthless piece of shit in this way of like, oh, well, fight through it, be a man. What I'm saying is that once it was like the walk to Nolan, did he leave him in one batter late? Yes, he did. After that Nolan walk, I don't know if they had the pitching visit the mound earlier or something. After that Nolan Arenado walk,
they didn't
which I
do
think
the mound visit until the bases were loaded. That's when
they didn't do a
visit.
Okay, so they didn't do a mound visit. I think once you started to see him either walk Nolan Arenado or hit hit the batter he hit the 9-hole hitter, right?
He hit Barreto.
Yeah, he hit the 9-hole hitter.
Yeah.
Once you saw that was when I would have coaching go to the mound. Mm-hmm. If he walks somebody else, that's when you take him out. So I think that there was still a pathway for him to get out of this game because of how some of the shit contact was against him. And normally, those outs would be like that. But if you were to, talk about these types of results of these guys putting the ball in play, he was missing a lot of these spots with this slider that we know that he gets a lot of chases with. So at least in the minor leagues, that's what he would get. So he was missing a lot of location. It was a formula of a lot just not doing well. And
this is the point too. While all this was happening, it also took the Mets forever to even get somebody warmed up. That was the other thing I didn't like, is that they weren't prepared for if the inning did continue to get worse, that they could go to someone, because that was always why it took them so long to pull out, is because no one was ready to go. It took them a while to even get action in the bullpen.
Yeah, I think, again, I don't know if it was just basically 80 pitches was like the limit, and they just wanted to see 80 pitches from him. They got 82 from him. Again, it could have gone better. I think that we saw things on display for him. I think we saw a solid range of weapons, but you got to throw strikes. And that really just, that basically behooved him for a majority of that outing that he had. I'm not panicking. He'll be back. He'll get another chance, of course. But from what I am seeing, simply under the hood, if you want to go under the hood here, under the beanie that I'm wearing, under the beanie here, when it comes to what we saw from Blade Tidwell, he has to throw strikes. That's pretty much it. That was pretty much what happened, and he got in trouble not throwing strikes. Maybe he was nibbling around the strike zone a little bit. Seemed like he was just a little bit erratic with the breaking stuff. Could have been nerves. Who knows? I don't know if it was. It seemed like he was a little out of sorts throughout that fourth inning, of course, and it just kind of snowballed a little bit on him. So I think that there's a lot that he can learn from this. I feel like it was a really good experience for him in this to get beat and realize that maybe there are adjustments that have to be made. Now, the one thing that does get me a little worried in this, and this is a whole different part of the subject, where Blade Tidwell, they ask him, what was it, the day that they announced that he was going to get called up, they said, he said, what was it? He said, he was like, I was surprised. So I don't know if he was saying that he shouldn't be up here, but I'm just saying it's like it's like there probably was somebody else in front of him that we all expected to be called up, and it did not happen. I don't know if it was just like the work of the rotation where his time was his day was up in the rotation for Syracuse, and they just picked on that in that certain day. That probably is what happened. So, he got the news flash of, these hitters in the major leagues. They can catch up to your stuff, whether you are graded fairly well or not. But, they are going to have to break some things down for him, and he's going to have to make those adjustments. And it's all really just about that. Not everybody can have the debut that Christian Scott had. Christian Scott struggled as well. Before he went down. Not everybody can just come in here like Matt Harvey and set the world on fire like it was with Zach Wheeler or Noah Syndergaard. It's a lot more difficult to pitch now. It's all really about ramping his arm up. And this is definitely on the coaching to show him how to make these adjustments and hopefully, do better next time. I think from some of the soft contact, there's nothing to panic about. Was it a bad outing? Absolutely. Was not great at all. But again, that's the things that you look for is the tools that he can have to get better. And like I showed on that graphic, 5+ pitches, it's there. You just got to throw strikes.
And listen, maybe it comes with time of like whoever's like Alvarez working with him or the major league staff working with him. They kind of learn maybe a better combination of how to go about using the pitches and which ones to utilize more, which ones to utilize less. That's something we've talked about with Buteau and some other guys, like trying to have, and McGill, like having the right game plan while you're out there. So, I mean, that could be part of the process too, and seeing him become a better pitcher.
Well, Doug, there were 5 pitches that were graded a plus for some whether
and
Statcast
Christian
or
Scott's
not.
Supposed to be better than him too. Like that's the thing. Is that
Yeah, also
Scott
was a higher regarded, and like jumped
like
through
quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit. Tidwell, no, his stuff's good.
And Scott had the same issue. I mean, everyone's you guys were complaining last year, 5th inning. Oh, he needs a new pitch. Oh, 5th inning, he's no good. Like, You guys forget how quickly, like, we had the same conversations last year when Scott would give up the 3-run homer to a left-handed hitter in the middle of the game. I mean, we had the same thing. Was like first feelings was good, and then it falls apart. Like that. That's part of being a young pitcher. And if it happens to Sproat when he gets here, or Tong or McLean, like that's part of it. They got to learn.
It's about creating those stats with these tools, and that's what he has. He showed plus. He showed plus tools that he had with his stuff, but like Turo is saying, stuff does not equal command and control. And what did we see as the main problem? Yesterday with Blade Tidwell. Wasn't able to throw strikes. He was missing spots. Command and control. That was in it. That was the issue. And he will work on it. But he does have good stuff. He's got 5+ weapons as we're seeing it graded out. And if he got more swings and misses, it probably would have been graded a little bit higher. So again, stuff's there. It's just breaking it down everywhere. I think the main reason as to why we're saying the stuff's not good is because the results were bad. Different thing. This is how these guys learn. You can't just say, well, you gave up 6 earned runs. Your career's over, kid. Here's an apron. Go work at the Stop and Shop.
Well, there's starts where you can have hard contact that go right into gloves, and you only give up 2 runs, and you're like, oh, it was a good start. Like, I mean, it can happen either way too.
Yeah, we've had again. That's the randomness of baseball. But we talk about this in an efficient way, right? So 9 times out of 10, when you hit the ball hard, maybe you get an extra base hit. But that 1 time out of 10, that happens a lot, where you see somebody like Juan Soto getting robbed at center field by Victor Scott last night. It happens, those things happen. It's all about the efficiency. It's about being 3 out of 10, just like how everybody says a great pitcher, a great hitter succeeds 7 times out of 10. We're talking about that with efficiency too.
Well,
that's the same thing. 3
times out of 10. They fail 7 times out of 10.
They failed 7 times out of 10. English. Yeah. That's not my strong suit. But we'll see how that goes along. We know we have tons of other young guys out here.
Exactly.
I can't wait to see guys like Christian Scott come back as well, to see what some adjustments he's made. We know the jolt to your arm with Tommy John. It'll be a while until we see him, but I'm excited. We'll see what the usage is with him. But it's all about these young guys, and if they continue to succeed with these veteran pieces, they'll be able to protect it.
Yeah, don't forget that Wheeler had struggles when he first came up with the Mets, and he was having a tough time. He'd walk some batters, have some starts that he'd have some.
How could we let him go, though?
How could we let him go?
No, but either way, they shouldn't have. But
then he went on to become an ace. Like that's part of the process. Like they were growing pains with Wheeler. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, we've had some rare, like you said, rare instances in the past decade where it was like DeGrom and Harvey and Noah Syndergaard. Like we got lucky, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we ended up in the World Series. Like we got lucky that those guys came up and right away were awesome.
And that was 2015.
10 years ago.
That's 10 years ago. A lot has changed. A lot has changed. A lot. Game has accelerated. It's a lot different. I think a lot of Mets fans.
Pitch clock.
Yeah, we have a pitch clock now. There's tons of things.
Are older and or their eyes are worse. Like a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah, a lot. I see some people complaining about something with the lineup. We'll get into that in a second. But we'll see how these things are applied. We still have plenty of young guys yet to make their debut that we are excited to see. We'll see what they do. But it is a slow process to develop into the major leagues. AAA is a tough adjustment as well. We are seeing guys like Brandon Sproat struggle a little bit in AAA. He's had a few solid starts, and he's had a few clunkers as well. So again, it's a rough adjustment. The talent gap is a lot higher as compared to what it was 10 years ago. So again, it's adjustments from both sides of the ball. Hitters are better. Pitchers have to be better. Hitters have to be better if, hitters have to be better if the pitching gets better. I mean, those are the points of acceleration that, or that seesaw type of thing of how the game evolves. That's basically it. And we've seen some good outings from some guys, and sometimes you get beat. And, somebody was saying it earlier in the chat, not everyone can be Jacob deGrom because no one is Jacob deGrom. And even with Jacob deGrom, there were some other issues there. So again, they're all components that we're all putting together. There's health, there's consistency, there's overall talent, there's overall maintaining, there's overall sustainability. I mean, there's so many things with these pitchers that get looked at, and it's rough. It's not something that is very, very easy to maintain these days with how hitters are advanced these days and how hard they do it. Yeah. I do agree with that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways. I think it's time to move on to giving my voice a rest for a second. And Frank, I will move over to you with the injury report. We had a few things happen in this series that were a little bit, I don't know if it was precautious or I don't know. But we do have some updates, some substantial updates as to if the roster is shaping up. So Frank, the injury report is all yours. Here's the mic that I'm passing through to you through the screen. It's all yours.
Oh, thank you. Nice pass. Nice pass. All righty. Right. So first up, we have Danny Young. Mets reliever will undergo Tommy John surgery this week after receiving opinions from multiple doctors. For a corresponding move, Young has been transferred to the 60-day injury list and is expected to miss the remainder of the 2025 season and a majority of the 2026 in recovery. Paul Blackburn, Mets right-handed pitcher, continued his rehab assignment on Friday night for High A Brooklyn after experiencing a setback due to illness. Blackburn tossed 3 innings, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts on 41 pitches. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that the 31-year-old will rejoin the team once he stretched out to 65 to 70 pitches. Blackburn has been sidelined since opening day due to right knee inflammation. Jesse Winker, Mets outfielder Jesse Winker exited Sunday's afternoon's game in St. Louis in the 3rd inning after experiencing discomfort in his right side. Winker said later on that he felt the injury after making a throw home from left field. The 31-year-old left-handed bat is expected to be placed on the 10-day injury list before tonight's game with an oblique injury and will travel to New York for further testing. Brett Beatty, Mets infielder, has been out of the AAA Syracuse lineup due to a sore right big toe. The 25-year-old did full workouts over the past few days and expected to return to the lineup later this week. The former first-round pick was optioned down to AAA Syracuse back on April 24th as a corresponding roster move, but will rejoin the Mets in Arizona to take Winker's spot on the 26-man roster. So it was a crazy week. I mean, we lost Minter. We're like, oh, well, let's see what Danny Young could do. And then we lost him too. So Blackburn, I mean, 65 to 70 pitches, I feel like that doesn't really help us, to be honest, because with the way Blackburn pitches,
I don't think he's going to be in the rotation.
No. Like, what is that? Like 3 innings, 4 innings? Like, that's not...
For him?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's not...
2
actually,
and a third?
Yeah, exactly. So if we're talking about 6-man rotation to accommodate Senga, that doesn't really accomplish that because the bullpen is going to be basically pitching most of the game anyway. So that's just kind of a waste, to be honest with you. So I didn't really love that one. And then I talked about Winker earlier, but it's like, one time in the outfield, one throw and you pull an oblique. Like, really? Like, you throw a ball one time as a professional baseball player
sounds
and you
about
pull
right
an oblique?
to be honest.
Like, that's what I'm saying is that if you're a manager and you know that occasionally guys are going to have to play the outfield, maybe you should do it a little more often so their bodies are prepared for it, and it's not just all of a sudden it's my first time doing this and then I pull something. Like, that's where I just don't quite understand. Like, what are we doing in spring training? What are we using spring training for? We're supposed to be using it to prepare for what we're going to be doing during the regular season. And it just feels like, no, we're just going to stick with the same crap every single day and do dumb things like McNeil in center field, which doesn't help anyone. But the actual productive things, like having the DHs play outfield occasionally to rest your guys who are playing every single day, that we don't do.
I think Jay-Z saying, again, I don't know if this is Beyonce's ex-husband, but he's saying that they are taking Blackburn's rehab as slow as possible. I think I don't know. It's half true. I think that's half true.
Are the Mets taking it as slow as possible, or is Blackburn taking it as slow as possible?
He's taken a lot of bumps in the road. I think he had like a scratch from it for like some kind of thing. He like did it a day later, and then he had like an illness or something. It's only a matter of time before he gets what's his name, Syndergaard's what was it? Hooves, mouth, and foot disease or whatever. What did he get? Yeah, that was.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was crazy, but yes, I remember that.
I'm not. I'm not expecting him to be as big of a contributor. This is just so odd. His situation. I'm still kind of wondering, like, if he's actually alive or if he like goes into a coffin. I don't know. But we will see. Anyways, speaking of the bullpen, Danel Nunez is back. He was not used. Maybe we're giving him in the cycle of Edwin Diaz, and he's got to have 8 days off before he comes back out there.
Can only pitch with the lead.
Yeah, you can only pitch with the lead. The closer goes into the 9th inning because it's 1964.
Well, Diaz actually pitched the 8th inning yesterday because the Mets were behind. So, how about that?
He did, and he was okay, I guess. Basically what you expect when a guy doesn't pitch for 8 days.
He actually was better than I expected, considering how long it'd been.
He did better. I think he touched, what was it? He touched 99 once or whatever. Touched 100 maybe. I don't know. But
he hit 99 at least.
Less fastball usage, please, because then you can get confidence into the fastball if you use the slider, like I've said multiple times.
He didn't walk anybody.
Yeah, he did not walk anybody. Carlos saying, is Blackburn rehabbing or in hospice care? We don't know. We really don't know. I'm not really taking much of it to heart as to any of that right now. Let's see. I'm seeing a lot about the lineup, which we will get into, obviously, going into this series. But I do have one more topic I want to discuss, mainly because I think the discourse about him has been so wide range since the beginning of the season, dating back to last year where he did struggle in the second half, and that being Brandon Nimmo. Now, there has been a lot said about Brandon Nimmo. We've had a lot of a discussion of what he really is to this lineup because he's not in the top third anymore with that Lindor, Soto, Alonso combination producing the way that it is and most likely will stay. We've seen him in cleanup. We've seen him in the 5-hole. We've seen him 6th. We have seen him DH before. I mean, we have seen a lot from him in that part of the lineup, in the lineup construction. And it's definitely been a different Brandon Nimmo that we're used to seeing, of course, a lot more power-oriented. But I do want to break down what's been going on with Brandon Nimmo because I think a lot is being misconstrued. A lot of things are being talked about as his career going on completely the downswing his contract being the next Ellsbury contract. I think we gotta just slow the roll here. But we have, still, it has been a struggle for him. It's been a tedious start to him for the season. He started to pick it up a little bit recently, but we're still looking for that consistency. We are still finding the Nimmo. There you go. Anyways, so far this year, not getting on base as we usually do see him at the usual clip. 93 weighted runs created plus. No, he has not had 3 plate appearances. That is a typo. He has had 12 extra base hits. 7 of them have been home runs. He has had 23 runs batted in, which is mainly skewered from that 9 RBI performance that he had last week. And with runners in scoring position, he has not been fantastic. But the overall underlying data, this is what we call a guy who is getting his opportunities and missing by a small hair. You are seeing him get the most pitches in the zone. He gets more pitches in the zone than pretty much anybody but Luis Ariz. And we are still not seeing him chase as much, but we're not seeing the main disciplined Brandon Nimmo, who was, the top 10% in chase rate. Plenty of swing and miss, like we are seeing him just constantly missing. When he's putting the ball in play, we are seeing great quality of contact that we have seen recently. We are also seeing 80th percentile in expected slugging, which is pretty much what we kind of expect. We know that from this power approach, obviously, expected batting average, of course. He's expected to get more hits, bat 274, if that's you prefer. Obviously, everything with a yellow star next to it in this breakdown is all really preference and not really ranked in some way as to where it's more efficient for other, because every hitter is different. So when you pull the ball, send the ball to center field, go the opposite way, it works for some hitters. Sometimes it doesn't. It's all really just about the preference of what type of hitter that they are. Average exit velocity is in the 89th percentile, 98th percentile in hard hit rate, 70th percentile in barrel rate. This looks like a hitter, once again, like I've said, is just, he's chasing exit velocity because he's really, really good at it, but he's missing by that much little. But I think that one of the main pieces of frustration, and I think, Frank, you can agree with this, below the percentiles, whether he's underperforming them or overperforming them, we're also seeing a lot more aggressive Brandon Nimmo in pitches in the zone, which I don't know if you can blame him being in the 100th percentile in zone rate of pitches, but right now we're kind of seeing an identity that is on display, but he just isn't kicking it into fully gear yet. And I think that's really where the frustration is coming from a lot of Mets fans of this slow start that he's had, where it's not something that we have seen. Like, Nimmo's been consistent for this team since he's been up here. It was all about staying healthy. Now he's healthy, and it just has not been a great start for him in 2025.
No, it has not been a great start. And we know that kind of continuing off of the second half from last year and the playoffs, and you had the foot injury in there and other factors like that. But it's been going on for a little bit of time. And, to your point, he is 98th percentile in hard hit rate. And like you said, the average exit velocity is good. He's definitely not walking as much as he used to. But I think a lot of times that even though he's hitting the ball hard and sometimes he's getting the good exit velos and things like that, there is a little too much on the ground for me. A little too many ground outs on the right side. And as far as the results that you're seeing, you're still yet to see a home run to left field. That's something that he did do occasionally the past few seasons. He's yet to do that now. It's felt like he's had a couple of doubles to go left field, but for the most part, it feels like I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times his actual batted ball data is just not very encouraging as far as what the results are. Now, he did get robbed on one of the at-bats yesterday where he lined it into right field and right center field. Jordan Walker made that diving catch. That was very unfortunate because that would have been a really nice big hit from a guy who was with runners in scoring position. And that would have changed the outcome of the game. But, there was some hard luck in there too. But I just felt that overall it's been very frustrating, particularly with the men on base. It just feels like anything that can go wrong, whether it's striking out, grounding out, we're just seeing a lot of those things happen. And when you combine it with the fact that the metrics are not favorable for him defensively or with the speed, not stealing bases, there's just it's tough when you're seeing a guy who is struggling with the actual results offensively, is having inconsistencies offensively, but not making up for it in other areas, even though in the past he's had the tools to be good in those other areas. So,
yes,
I mean, that's the thing that is kind of frustrating too. It just feels like he's someone that we've had to move some pieces around to accommodate, whether it's he was center field, then we had to move him to left field. And I've said before, but he was a leadoff hitter. Now he's a cleanup hitter or 5 hitter or 6 hitter. It just feels like, we're trying a lot of different things to make him fit. and get the most value out of him, but it's just not happening. So that's the thing that's been kind of frustrating too. And now that he's 32 years old, he still has a few more years left on his deal. So
Yeah.
this is something that they do need to find out, like, what is it that we are doing with Brandon Nimmo, because he's not particularly excelling in anything right now. So it's hard to kind of embrace his strengths or get the most out of him. So that's kind of where I'm at with him right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about, from like what you just said, a lot on the ground, a lot of popping up, he's really just missing the window. Like, that's basically what you're seeing here. He's like behind by a smidge second. For me, I'm okay with this approach if he doesn't chase. Still has not been chasing. The swing and miss will come from the middle of the lineup in the cleanup position behind Alonso to get him more of these opportunities. I probably would move him down to either fifth or move him up to set up Alonso, like I have said before. I think also you're seeing, like I said, more of it is accommodated from the protection of Alonso, of him getting the most pitches in the strike zone, him and Luis Ariz. A lot of teams are walking. A lot of teams are walking Pete Alonso to pitch to Nimmo. So again, I think that there's a little bit more of a feared hitter in somebody else protecting him as compared to somebody like Brandon Nimmo. I think that eventually he's going to catch fire because he's missing by this much. It's not as a stubborn situation like how it was with like JD Davis, who, well, he had all the funny, satisfying red circles, but he still had issues with the fastball. He was still pounding the ball into the ground way too much. He was still, whiffing at crap in the zone or flailing at things in the other batter's box, and he just was not great situationally. We've seen Brandon Nimmo do well this situationally. Recently, I'd say that he's starting to go a little bit more of the contact approach. Not as much that it's very, very noticeable, but we are seeing him get a little bit more line drives these last few days. We were seeing him, kind of use a little bit more of the field as well. It's all really about it, and I think, Carlos makes it a good point, and we talk about this with the entire team. It's all about situational hitting. For example, if a pitcher just walked the previous two batters, you're not swinging at the next first pitch. Work the count. Exactly. And again, that's more of just the mental part of it, because we know that Brandon Nimmo is capable of taking pitches. Even if he is going to have this power approach, he's still... we know that he's capable of not swinging at a bunch of garbage and just constantly flailing at a bunch of uncompetitive pitches as compared to somebody like Vientos, who has struggled with pitches outside of the zone. Brandon Nimmo has really good plate discipline. He always has. That was one of his main tools that brought him up through the minor league system. So it's all really just about putting this together and finding this median. And I hope that he eventually breaks out of it, because from what we're seeing underlying way, I think we're going to eventually start to see it. But he's just not giving us the efficient approach as of right now. This will obviously sound the same to some Rangers fans that I know are in the chat right now. Talent doesn't mean everything. If you don't play the right way, you're not going to get those results. Right now, we're seeing Brandon Nimmo just in a very inefficient way right now. I hope that he finds that median, but we'll see how, we'll see how that does elevate. I want them to establish some kind of position for him in the lineup, whether it's fifth or sixth. I don't like him in cleanup. Somebody asked me earlier, I think it was D asked this. He said, you commented on the consistency of the lineup night to night. Do you think that's a main factor of the struggles? And I've talked about the order of the lineup of where it's like different every single night. I mean, Starling Marte is batting cleanup tonight going into this game. Something that should not be happening, but for some reason they think Unk still got it. But I think it's all really just about the middle of this order of what comes after Alonso, because the top three right now, it is looking like this top three is the feared part of the lineup, and the rest of it, it's just basically a crapshoot. If they put him in a certain position,
which we kind of knew that going into
the
season.
I thought this would be a lot deeper this year. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this would be a lot deeper. But now that we got Jeff McNeil back, we're gonna be rising through the roof. Anyways,
Nimmo and Vientos were supposed to be better, no doubt, but this was kind of what I saw. I mean, we knew that we weren't going to get much from center field. We knew DH wasn't great, and you weren't high on McNeil, so that's literally a third of the lineup that we didn't have.
We also didn't expect Alvarez to get hurt. We also didn't expect, guys like this.
Now it's like half the lineup we're talking about. So that's why it makes sense that the top three would be solid and the rest wouldn't. I mean, we kind of knew it was going to be top heavy for the most part.
It's also official, by the way, that Jesse Winker is on the IL with a right oblique strain. We don't know how long he will be.
So that's now 3 obliques so far this season for the Mets?
Yeah. Spin the wheel of injuries, I guess. Spin the wheel of injuries. But, again, I was expecting this offense to be a little bit more fluid because they had...
But here's my thing, though, is that, we're talking about Nimmo right now, and we don't like him hitting cleanup. And the Mets said, okay, we're not going to bat Nimmo cleanup tonight. We're going to bat Marte cleanup. And now all of us in the chat are complaining, why is Marte batting cleanup? Somebody's got to do it. Unless we're all in agreement that it should be Vientos, who is it that everybody wants to see bat cleanup? Because that's kind of what I'm getting at.
He's in Philly right now.
Well, yes, of course. But I'm just saying that the guys the Mets have currently employed, most of them are bad options because they're all struggling with runners in scoring position. So it's hard to just say, it's like, oh, well, it shouldn't be Nimmo. We'll have to put someone else. Oh, well, he sucks with runners on base too. I'll put someone else. Oh, he's bad on base too. You got to make a decision here. Who's batting cleanup? And like we said, stick to who's batting cleanup. Stop changing it every day. I know that, but that's the other part that's been very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think if it wasn't going so well, it's just they have to figure something out and stick to it, and they just don't. There's always just a new lineup every single day, and I'm expecting to cross my fingers that this offense will score. I think that is a factor. I do think it is a factor. There's other factors as well of just okay, screw your head on straight, please. But when it comes to Nimmo, I think right now you're going to start to see him get going because I don't think he's missing by much. I think that he's doing fine right now with the overall approach as long as he's not chasing. I would like to see him work the count a little bit more as to where he's not swinging at everything in the vicinity of the strike zone because, again, there are pitchers that, pitch around that would pitch around him, but he's going to get a lot of those opportunities because he is going to be behind Alonso. If you have Brandon Nimmo behind somebody else, he'll probably get either less pitches to hit or pitches that will allow him to work the count. And I think that's the main reason as to why it's very frustrating in that way because of how he's just batting behind Alonso and he's getting all of these opportunities. Like I said, him getting 100th percentile amounts of pitches in the zone, more than half of the pitches he is facing. So he's getting those opportunities. And if you see something in the zone, I would like you to try and crush it, which, again, is something that comes with this type of power hitting approach. But, again, he's going to get more pitches. He's going to get more pitches in the zone. And I think that he said something. It was like, I don't know if it was kind of a spin-off of not Dennis Rodman. Why did I say Dennis Rodman? Wayne Gretzky of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. He said something around that. He's like, I'm going to get my opportunities and I'm going to go for them. But, I still want to see some more Nimmo walks again. I still want to see him work the count if he's not getting those pitches that he can drive. I think he's just basically swinging at everything that comes into the vicinity of the strike zone. And sometimes it just screws up the timing of the barrel zone. So hopefully he eventually figures it out. If he doesn't, then we're going to have a little bit more deeper of a conversation. But for everybody that are declaring that his career completely over, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. Lowering him to the lineup. I can't say that he just has no encouraging signs right now. Because there are there. There's underlying numbers, and if you don't want to hear it because, results are what make the world go round, which is true, I think eventually we're going to see a Brandon Nimmo that starts to get it going. We'll see. What's the option? Just changing Viento's spot in the order? That doesn't help. I think it's just more of like enough with the platoons, which they don't even have a platoon as of right now with Winker out.
Yeah, because not everyone's broken.
Not everyone's broken. You also don't have the platoon of Siri and Taylor right now.
Because he's broken.
Yeah, because Siri's broken. Siri's been unavailable for the last few weeks. And it wasn't his night. I feel like if they do find a way to have these guys in the lower third or the middle third, there is probably a combination that does work as to where guys get enough pitches to create damage, guys get enough pitches to get on base. I do also want a situation where there's less pitches for Acuna to hit, so he gets on base more, too, to steal. So, again, I feel like there's a way of, protecting flaws and also creating more damage. And it is pretty specific how you kind of have to do it with this specific Mets lineup right now. And that does not include Brandon Nimmo getting pitched to more than Pete Alonso. Like, there has to be a power threat behind Pete Alonso. Or if you have to move Pete Alonso to the cleanup spot, so be it. Again, they get the most, runners in scoring position opportunities regularly. And I don't think you'll ever have a 1-2-3 inning with Pete Alonso at the top of the lineup because you don't have Marte in the top of the lineup anymore. And you don't have, Nimmo in the top of the lineup. Like, you have Soto and Lindor. Guys are going to be pitched around. Putting Pete in that cleanup spot would be fine to me. If you want to put Soto third, you can do that. You want to put Nimmo second. I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter how they do it. It's all really just about the formula that creates damage for guys that chase and guys that don't, and the guys that do damage in the zone. I feel like that's the best way to look at the philosophy of these guys hitting. Jay-Z saying, just what if Marte starts producing with more playing time now? It's a great if for you. I'd love to see it. I would love to see it because he's wearing the orange and blue. But I'm not expecting him to do it because I just don't think that Marte is in that part anymore of his career anymore.
The other thing they did today is like they batted Marte fourth, they got Nimmo fifth, and then Vientos sixth. But like I've talked about with Fit, one of the things I really dislike about a lineup is putting Vientos and Alvarez back to back because both of them are way too aggressive, especially Carson against this Arizona Diamondbacks right-handed dominant bullpen that they struggled with last series. So when Ryan Thompson comes out of the bullpen, throwing his slider, and Vientos and Alvarez got men on, and they're just swinging that stuff in the dirt and stuff in the other batter's box back to back, that's going to drive me nuts.
You're panicking too much because we have a hitting coach that helps them make adjustments and looks at film.
Yes.
Oh, wait, we don't have that? Sorry. My apologies. Anyways, again, there has to be consistency within the lineup, and for some reason, they don't want to do that. I don't know if there is, just some kind of, I don't know if this is an analytics team thing. I don't know if this is just them looking at the matchups with
thing.
Yeah.
one more thing that I just thought about it. So Ryan Stanek had talked about this Mets pitching lab, right? And then they had they had Jeremy Hefner on the Mets YouTube, this pitching lab. Why do we hear so much about this Mets pitching lab and the investments the Mets have made to pitching and the pitching personnel? I have not heard once someone say the Mets hitting lab, because guess what? Baseball is about pitching and hitting. So we have this great pitching lab now. Could we get a hitting one too? Like, we have an owner that's got enough money. Let's get a great hitting lab that was so amazing that fixes people's careers and has
have a
bounce back
report that they have one, but it's just not. It's not improved yet. I mean, we all know what horse they got to take out back, but you know, it's all really just about, you know, from both sides. Hitting's always been underwhelming with this franchise. Hopefully
it's a pitching
it gets
franchise.
better.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, it's a pitcher's franchise.
Since its inception.
Not everyone can develop a fantastic hitter like Michael Conforto and then just let him go.
He's doing great now, isn't he?
Yeah, what the hell is going on with him? I
Even
think
the Dodgers hitting lab.
Yeah, he's in the Dodgers hitting lab, the Jason Hayward resurgence hitting lab. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we don't have the permits yet. Carlos may be onto something, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be too busy on the.
Is it along
Park
with
permits?
Is it along with the wait to build a roof over Citi Field? Like they're
yeah, that's nothing on
the wait with
right.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't build a hitting lab with two garbage hitting coaches. It's also just kind of the philosophy, not the philosophy, but the old saying of, it's like, you have two cooks in the kitchen. You don't have a single cook.
The baseball saying, the football says you have two quarterbacks. You have no quarterbacks, and that's kind of what was like here for a sports thing.
Yeah, or unless you're some franchises that just never have a quarterback whatsoever,
or you could just have zero.
Yeah, or you can just have zero and just a bunch of mid. I'm looking at you, Cleveland. Anyways, I think the way that we know how to recap everything that went on in this series, which was not fantastic. Studs and Duds, everybody's favorite segment. One player that was good in this series we want to give props to, one that was not good and we want to ridicule and be mean to, because we are awful human beings and we hate these people. You know, we don't like anyone. And we're just rooting against them because of our agendas. So, and for those of you who don't get that, that was sarcasm. That was a joke. Just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Vontae Mack. Yeah. He. I hope he ended up well. We don't know. Yeah. That's God.
Yeah,
anyways,
no, he did post about
the
donuts. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's vocal.
Yeah.
Anyways, Studs and Duds. Frank, I'll go to you. Your stud for this series.
Yeah, I mean, you lost the series, so you had some guys that struggled, but I'll give it to Tyrone Taylor. I mean, it looks like he's swinging a little bit better of a bat. You know, he was getting on base multiple times. He's putting the ball in play. It looks like he's getting a little better with not really over swinging. Like, he's just kind of, hitting solid line drives, just hitting it to center, hitting it to the outfield. So I like what I saw, especially at that number 9 spot. So, Lindor unfortunately didn't have his best series, but if you do get Taylor actually doing some stuff for you at the bottom half, it could make a bit of a difference, because then on the flip side, it's like, well, now, Alonso has more opportunities, and then hopefully Soto's not grounding out and looking at strike 3 looking, but you just hope that you get more production from more than the top 3. It would generally equal more runs.
Roan. We call him Roan. He's also a hoopist. He's a hooper. He's always contributing in this lineup. And, whether it is defensively on the base pass, he always seems to have some kind of high IQ play. And trust me, with what we have seen from this team, fundamentally, they need it. And also, we talked a little bit about Tyrone Taylor and him in the 9 spot, and how he's heating up recently on Tony's stream. For those of you our old friend Tony Metro, I was on his stream about 2 days ago. We were talking about like the state of the Mets and what was going on there. I've always said it's with Tyrone Taylor. I don't care what he does offensively. because I know he has those certain tools to just contribute. If he strikes out 4 times in the game, he's going to contribute somehow, no matter what. I don't expect him to do anything at the plate. That's the thing. It's like, I know everybody expects everybody to bat 300, and they're just not good. Like, I know Tyrone Taylor's not a good hitter, so I'm not even trying to say, well, that's how he needs to contribute, because I know he's capable of doing other things. And I know, Frank, you have a tough time accepting that sometimes, seeing him strike out as much, but that's kind of just what I expect from Tyrone Taylor. He's going to hit his way on. He's not going to walk. He's going to chase. He's going to have some ugly swings, but damn good. He is damn good in center field. Let's just say that. Even though apparently I've said that he's terrible in center field. But hey, whatever. Let's just make shit up, because if you make shit up, enough people will believe it. Am I right? Anyways, great speed, center field, always on display every single time. Pete Alonso, another great series from him. Obviously, it could have been even better if he didn't take that strike 3 looking. Am I right? But no, anyways, he just is locked in right now. There's no one more locked in than Pete Alonso. Maybe there's Aaron Judge to say, but Pete Alonso has been fantastic to this offense. And we've seen him have hot stretches and show shades in the last 2 years, but he consistently has been a contributor every single day. When was the last time that he took an 0-4? It's been a while, right?
And not draw a walk either, because he's also
like he at least has one base every game. Yeah. Every game, I feel like he has a base.
He doesn't have a big on-base streak, but it feels like he does.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, he has 104 since. No, he has.
I mean,
204s.
468. So
yeah, he's
on base
yeah,
quite frequently.
Yeah, he has gotten on base in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 consecutive games he has gotten on base.
Okay, there you go.
Wow. Look at that. I mean, expecting that from Pete Alonso, right? Pete Alonso. That's crazy. He's been nuts. Amazing. And he's giving you, he's early contending for that big award that we all know. And that it being the home run derby champion crown that he will bring back and do his gimmicks with. Anyways.
That's actually the one thing he hasn't been crazy with, is the homers. And I'm okay with that, because he's just been a more complete
That's the nuts thing about his season. He's like first in the National League in so many different stat categories, but and he's not in home runs.
Yeah, exactly.
Pete Alonso, right? Who is this, and what has he done with Pete Alonso? So odd. Anyways, but I'm not complaining. He's been fantastic. Anyways, duds. There was a lot of rough performances. Are you going to throw the kid under the bus? What do you think?
No, I'm actually going to go with another center fielder. How about Jeff McNeil, who does not belong in center field, and he misplays like the first batter of the game and doesn't get enough hits to make up for it. So, McNeil.
McNeil?
Yeah.
Really? All right. Let's see. I think I'm going to go into the direction of Tyler McGill.
Ooh.
We didn't really get into the, the specifics of what happened with him. Has May hit? Are we in Maygill now? And it's just, that's it. I don't think so. I thought the swing and miss stuff was there partly, but he just was not as sharp. We know the big home run that he gave up in the first inning was not great. He hit a batter. He walked the 9-hole hitter one time. It just was not a good outing for him. So you hold your guy accountable. I got to hold my guy accountable. Wasn't a great outing for him. Was there still shitty defense behind him? Yes. Because we only show out for David Peterson. To be honest, I don't even say that in a spiteful way anymore. I say it in a hilarious way, because it's uncanny how this defense shows out for David Peterson. The rest of the staff, it's just like tripping over the ball, kicking it around, it's uncanny. It really is. It really is uncanny. Like, does anybody realize this? That like their defense just shows out in front of David Peterson, nobody else? It's odd. And to be honest, I hope it keeps going. I hope it keeps going with David Peterson, because it would just be so funny. But again, that's just for comedy. Anyways, anybody else that you want to give a shout out to? Because it was a collaborative effort for them to lose this series. It was. I think your mic's muted. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so they're going to have to make some decisions here now that, you have Winker down. Is that I saw, I don't know who was it, it might be like John Harper or someone, was like they could theoretically move Acuna to third and have Vientos DH for now, because I really didn't like Acuna winning Rookie of the Month for National League, and not with a ton of competition, not with the greatest of months, but still getting Rookie of the Month, and his reward is, okay, now that McNeil's back, you go to the bench. So, I mean, that's the thing that I didn't like. I feel like with Acuna, you still got to find a way to keep him in this lineup. And I like his, I think he could play, I mean, he's a small third baseman, but with his athleticism, he could make some things happen. He's got some good hands. He's got range. Like, I think he's better than Vientos at third base, even though he doesn't profile as your typical third baseman.
Well, you also have Brett Beatty up here now, too.
Yeah, you have, but what I'm saying is keep Acuna in line. Don't put Beatty in the lineup. So it's like, if you still want,
but like they're kind of like the same player. Like they've both had the same amount of success, right? Because Acuna is.
I mean, Beatty still needs time, right? I mean,
yeah,
he still
Acuna,
needs a few more years.
Did bad in AAA, right. And Beatty has been dog shit and one of the worst players in all of baseball. I mean, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Anyways, when it comes to the lineup construction of that, I do want to say one thing. I was very, very strict going into this season of not having Vientos as the DH because I feel like for his development as a player. Now I'm kind of shifting it to this situation with Winker out. If you wanted to DH Vientos on, multiple days in the week and not have him at third base, which he's not sure-handed at, we know he isn't. I'd be fine with it because the alternative is Starling Marte at DH, which is not a DH. He's Unk. That's it, right? Yeah. Unk at DH. It doesn't work anymore. And even though he did get a 2-run single yesterday, it still isn't a threat. It isn't. For him to be just protecting Alonso is just a joke. Batting behind Alonso because he's not protecting anybody. The DH platoon is gonna this is gonna have to be addressed at some point. I like Winker. We already know I do like Winker.
He's broken. Which can't like him anymore.
But he's broken. His oblique hurts, so we don't know how long he will be out. But eventually he will be back. But fitting Marte into this entire formula, I don't see the reason for it. It's just so it's lazy. I think it's just a lazy patch up of, well, he's here. He should be here. I can't wait until this contract is over. I really can't. And it's really weird for me to be saying something like that because Starling Marte, for the way that I talk about him, going into the league, he was one of my favorite players in the game. Like he really was. But then you're getting the back half of his career here where it's like, this is a different guy. He's not this guy anymore. And like we have said of just like the utilization of him making $20 million on this roster, we even saw it in game 1 of the doubleheader where they bring him in as a pinch runner to not even steal.
Yeah. But stealing game 2. That was like,
yeah, but he's stolen game 2.
That was a pretty big troll. I got to be honest with you. That
Yeah.
one had me like, you're just gotta be kidding me, right? Like,
Yeah, that was That was a flex of a tattoo right there. That just like, I'm like, dude, now you're gonna do this. It's all really about the timing, really. That's it. And all these stats can come together and talent can bail you out sometimes, but it's got to be timely, such as the offense, such as some of the pitching has been recently where they're walking some batters or whatever. It's just got to be the right time, and they gotta remain that focus. Now, speaking of focus, let's shift the focus to the next series that is coming up against an Arizona team that took 2 out of 3 from us back at Citi Field earlier last week. And this time we are going off to Arizona into Phoenix, which is cold all year. Am I right? Anyways, as for what has been upcoming for this series, if I can form a sentence properly, that would be great. Okay. So as for your probable starters for this series in Arizona, at 9:40 Eastern Time, Griffin Canning goes tonight against Ryan Nelson. Griffin Canning looks to continue his consistent start into May. And that will be, of course, on SNY. All three of these games will be on SNY. David Peterson gets game 2 as he's lined up to go up against Zach Gallen, which I think will be a rematch of one of the games they had at Citi Field of how it is lined up. David Peterson, let's hope we can continue that consistency. Zach Gallen, we know he has had a rough season, but he had a pretty good outing against the Mets. So hopefully there is, pretty good, his best of the year against the Mets. So maybe there's adjustments that are being made. Would be awesome. Same thing goes for against the Arizona bullpen, which they could not hit whatsoever. And game 3 at 3:40, which will be the day game, afternoon for us. Kodai Senga will go up against Merrill Kelly, who got off to a good start this season and has kind of tampered off these last few starts. And that, of course, will be on SNY too. And Kodai Senga, hopefully he can go a little bit deeper because I'm pretty sure he went like 4 innings last time. So
he had the stomach bug.
Oh yeah, that's right. The bug that transferred all the way from Brooklyn to Queens from Paul Blackburn all the way to what was it?
Nimmo.
Nimmo had it.
Yeah.
Didn't Winker have something a few weeks ago? Very
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's getting sick. Because after every game, my post-game routine after every game, back in my playing days, it was just licking a bat's asshole afterwards and going out there and getting sick. So, whatever. I like the guys to be 100%, and this just hasn't been a situation that was probably a little too graphic for everyone. I apologize for that. But anyways, I saw something in the chat earlier on tonight, Jay-Z saying, worried about Canning tonight. Feel like he's going to get hit hard. It could happen because, again, it's all about location with him. That could be a rough matchup for him.
Yeah, tough lineup.
Did he face them the last time it go around? I don't think so, right?
He might not have.
He may have. He may have not. I don't know. These games go by so quick.
Yeah, take a look at the game log.
No, he didn't. He faced Washington.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. But one of the interesting things about Arizona is they did have a extra inning game against the Phillies yesterday, so they did have to dip into a bit of the bullpen. Ginkel threw 19 pitches yesterday. Ryan Thompson threw 11 pitches.
Yes.
Shelby Miller finally gave up a couple runs through 22 pitches, and then Beeks also threw 20 pitches. But as we know, they'll be aggressive. I mean, we saw their guys working like every single day against the series. So generally speaking, I'd be like, oh, you might not see this guy, you might not see that guy, but with the way Arizona treats these games, like they're very important, which they are, you still might see these players. And as we know, the Mets just got totally shut down by this very right-handed dominant bullpen, like with the sliders and everything like that, men on base. So I am curious to see like how there's no adjustments to make because you got nobody left. What are you gonna do? Just pinch hit Brett Beatty for Vientos? Like that's not gonna happen. So this is your personnel, and we'll see if they actually lay off some pitches this time and aren't chasing.
Yeah. Again, adjustments do need to be made. Like we said, the Arizona with the bullpen. We talked about the usage of the Nationals bullpen, and they shut us down for the first 2 games or the first 3 games of the series. I mean, I never go into a like I never go into the series. It was like, oh, this guy's got a high ERA this season. He should be bad. The Mets always find a way to surprise us in a way, especially with the offense, like we have said. Runners in scoring position. This is going to be a key constantly. I mean, even if they do it for the next 3 games, we still want to see it consistently. And it still has just been rough. In that entire series against the Cardinals, I believe they were 10 for 38 with runners in scoring position combined. And we'll see.
The majority
of
the good stats were game 1 because game 2 was like, it was like 6 for 26 or something like that.
They had 5 hits in game 1 with runners in scoring position in game 1, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go.
Yeah. So we're looking for an improvement there. Because if they don't get this situational hitting going, it could start to snowball and you won't be in first place. So again, they got to get it going. Most of it is mental because we see the tools on display. We are seeing these guys hit the ball hard. We are seeing them hit for power. We're seeing them produce.
If you could get on base with the bases empty, you could get on base with the bases not empty. You know, like if you know how to get on base, just keep getting on base. Stop.
Yeah, I think it goes to show just the constant turning your brain off. Just don't, like, no, thank you. Just focus. Get your head out of your ass, please. That'd be awesome. As for this lineup today, we know that it went out during our stream like an hour ago while we were out. Again, 9:40 late time, obviously out west. The starting lineup for the Mets, I can list it out for those of you who do not know. For us live, it obviously won't matter once this is out on audio, but Lindor, Soto, Alonso, as we said, Marte in the cleanup spot, like we said, Nimmo, Vientos, Alvarez, McNeil at second base, Tyrone Taylor at center field batting ninth. Of course, Griffin Canning starting today. So every time we say Marte in the cleanup spot, he ends up, getting the big hit or whatever. I still just think it's not great. But
the Mets faced Ryan Nelson too. He was actually the guy that pitched long relief for them in Game 1, but the Mets actually did well. So, I mean, that's something to consider, too, is that, like, I feel like he did better than Eduardo Rodriguez did. So,
yeah, Erod got destroyed.
And he's the one that pitched yesterday, and he got out of some jams. I mean, he had a lot of base runners, but you know, now they got Nelson as his own starter because Corbin Burns, who pitched last series, he got some shoulder stuff going on, so he's going to miss this series. So now Nelson is in the rotation, so they've got some things going on their own end too with their pitchers.
Yep, but you got to persevere. You got to muscle through it. I saw something, I don't know where it was. Maybe I will find it. But it said, I think there was there's 5 guys in this. There you go. Lindor, Soto, Alonso all have good numbers against Ryan Nelson. So they've seen this pitcher before. Yeah. I don't think he's not really much of a world beater. He's kind of just a command guy. But, again, the opportunities are there. They're going to give you the opportunities. You're going to get on base, and they're going to have to cash them in. They're going to have to, finally grow up, be big boys and cash guys in when they're on base.
And the other big thing for Arizona is that Ketel Marte is back now. He played in the series against the Phillies, so last year he was their best player. I know Corbin Carroll's been great this year, Pavin Smith's been great this year, but Ketel Marte, he could do a lot of things offensively, in the field, at second base, so he's a factor. So now if you thought the Mets, losing against Arizona was bad last time, well, guess what? Now you're not in Citi Field, and Ketel Marte is back for Arizona, so that also makes things more challenging.
Doug's saying I picked Nelson in fantasy today, so he'll suck. All right. Well, we're counting you, counting on that. So we'll see how they play the matchups here. Like you said, with the bullpen, them struggling against the bullpen. A lot of these guys chasing against Ryan Thompson. A lot of these right-handers offering out with the situational. That was one of their worst situational games in the offensive category. So hopefully there is some adjustments made. I would love to see that. Can we just with runners in scoring position tonight, or not tonight? Well, actually, throughout this series, can this team just bat 270 with runners in scoring position?
Yeah, that would win games because with these
that would be awesome.
Losses, that'd be enough.
Do that. Yeah. I mean, what was it? What we said it was like 10 for 38 or whatever.
It was really
bad. 260 or whatever.
It was.
It just not good enough.
I mean, not 270. Good enough. Yeah, 270 is what the Cardinals bat with runners in scoring position. That would put you tied for 6th in the league.
Would be nice. So, that would be nice. Just they got to get it going. They got to get it going because we know that they have the ability to do it. But predictions for this series, and we'll head on out. Guys in the chat, the 4% of you are saying that the Mets will sweep. 56% of you are saying 2 out of 3 for the Mets. 33% of you are saying 2 out of 3 for the Diamondbacks, and 7% of you are saying that the Diamondbacks will sweep them out of Arizona. So, Frank, we know that we have a sample to build off of in Citi Field where we lost the series. So, could go either other way. This is a good Arizona team.
I mean, they've been awesome at Citi Field, so the things just don't look well to be in Arizona. I mean, they really don't. They had some trouble there last season, as we know, very infamous, the big blowups they had. And these games, like I said, if they could end up being important by the time the season is over. And like we said, they're struggling right now. I mean, the pitching's not as good as it was in the beginning of the season. The hitting is still leaving a ton of guys on base. Now you got injuries on top of it. I could see them winning the first game today because yesterday was just so bad. It's almost, it's very difficult to be so bad yesterday and then be just as bad today. Like, it should just be like a yesterday thing and you kind of move on, you bounce back, because what's like the Mets haven't lost 3 games in a row or something like that. Like, maybe that trend continues for a little longer, but then the next 2 games, I just don't see it. So I think maybe today they'll have a nice little bounce back offense, but after that, I feel it's going to go back to what we've been seeing.
Yeah, this is true. They have hit well in Arizona, so hopefully it does come together. We'll see. The Mets have actually done well against Arizona recently. I think it was like their last 30 meetings, the Mets have won like 22 of them or whatever, 23 of them, something like that. Quote me on that. It was on the broadcast. I think it was in the first game when everything was all happy and everybody was making fantastic catches, and then the rest of the season, the rest of the series was just, they just, belly flopped into that.
Depending on the roof situation, like, they could have some elevation too. So, that's
could
something you have to
happen
factor, with the ballpark.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they do. And it will start at 9:40 p.m. So you guys are probably going to get like
team ended up in the World Series.
Yeah. 23. Yeah. Somehow they did. They were gritty enough to get into that World Series. But anyways, I think it all just comes together as to where they were close in this series, but they're going to have to get over the hump as to where they're cashing runners in, like we have said. It's all just really about the timing that has been really, really off for the offense. We know that they can contribute. Some guys have gotten off to slow starts, but they've heated up recently. Even before Winker got injured, he was starting to hit a little bit. Hopefully Nimmo continues. Hopefully Mark Vientos is a little bit better. Pete Alonso's been great. Lindor, Soto, hopefully he continues to not get robbed. And it seems like he's starting to lock in a little bit. So hopefully it carries over. It's all about the consistency here. And, we got to start to see it before we can start putting this team on our backs and ready to march in a parade in October. It's a long season. So hopefully they continue it. Hopefully the offense wakes up when it needs to, because we know they're capable of it. But other than that, we're going to finish it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to not miss when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok, which mainly features Frank's post-game live. It's going to probably be at 1 o'clock tonight. I don't know. It's going to be late.
Oh
so,
yeah. Listen, don't strand runners this series, because I'll tell you what. You're going to stay up late. At least play good. Don't play like crap.
Well, there's not a certain person out west to ruin things for us. So maybe it'll be a little bit more peaceful. So hopefully
sure we'll do a little tribute.
Hopefully it's a good product they put on the field, because watching that type of product late at night, it's not a good feeling. It is not a good feeling, especially when you follow a team religiously and you cover it like we do. Other than that, follow all of us individually, including our third Mike, Andrew, who's not here. And of course, going into tonight, late night West Coast swing here in Arizona, and then they go back home, get a day off. This is a team that they're going to be competing with if there's wild card stipulations like last year. So these are important games, whether it is May or April or whatever. So, final thing, of course, let's go Mets, and we will see you guys next time.